This page lists some links to ancient philosophy. In Western philosophy, the spread of Christianity in the Roman Empire marked the ending of Hellenistic philosophy and ushered in the beginnings of medieval philosophy, whereas in Eastern philosophy, the spread of Islam through the Arab Empire marked the end of Old Iranian philosophy and ushered in the beginnings of early Islamic philosophy. Introduction. Genuinely philosophical thought, depending upon original individual insights, arose in many cultures roughly contemporaneously. Karl Jaspers termed the intense period of philosophical development beginning around the 7th century and concluding around the 3rd century BCE an axial age in human thought. Ancient Chinese philosophy. Chinese philosophy is the dominant philosophical thought in China and other countries within the East Asian cultural sphere that share a common language, including Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. Schools of thought. 100 schools of thought. The 100 schools of thought were philosophers and schools that flourished from the 6th century to 221 BCE, an era of great cultural and intellectual expansion in China. Even though this period, known in its earlier part as the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period, in its latter part was fraught with chaos and bloody battles. It is also known as the Golden Age of Chinese philosophy because a broad range of thoughts and ideas were developed and discussed freely. The thoughts and ideas discussed and refined during this period have profoundly influenced lifestyles and social consciousness up to the present day. In East Asian countries, the intellectual society of this era was characterized by itinerant scholars, who were often employed by various state rulers as advisors on the methods of government, war, and diplomacy. This period ended with the rise of the Qin dynasty and the subsequent purge of dissent. The Book of Han lists 10 major schools. There, Confucianism, which teaches that human beings are teachable, improvable and perfectible through personal and communal endeavor, especially including self-cultivation and self-creation. A main idea of Confucianism is the cultivation of virtue and the development of moral perfection. Confucianism holds that one should give up one's life, if necessary, either passively or actively, for the sake of upholding the cardinal moral values of Ren and Yi. Legalism, which maintained that human nature was incorrigibly selfish. Accordingly, the only way to preserve the social order was to impose discipline from above, and to see to a strict enforcement of laws. The legalists exalted the state above all, seeking its prosperity and martial prowess over the welfare of the common people. Taoism, a philosophy which emphasizes the 3 jewels of the Tao: compassion, moderation, and humility, while Taoist thought generally focuses on nature, the relationship between humanity and the cosmos, health and longevity, and Wu Wei, harmony with the universe, or the source thereof, is the intended result of many Taoist rules and practices. Mohism, which advocated the idea of universal love. Mozi believed that everyone is equal before heaven, and that people should seek to imitate heaven by engaging in the practice of collective love. His epistemology can be regarded as primitive materialist empiricism. He believed that human cognition ought to be based on one's perceptions, one's sensory experiences, such as sight and hearing, instead of imagination or internal logic, elements founded on the human capacity for abstraction. Mozi advocated frugality, condemning the Confucian emphasis on ritual and music, which he denounced as extravagant. Naturalism, the school of naturalists or the yin-yang school, which synthesized the concepts of yin-yang and the 5 elements. Zhou Yan is considered the founder of this school. Agrarianism, or the school of agrarianism, which advocated peasant utopian communalism and egalitarianism. The agrarians believed that Chinese society should be modeled around that of the early sage King Shennong, a folk hero which was portrayed in Chinese literature as working in the fields, along with everyone else, and consulting with everyone else when any decision had to be reached. The Logicians, or the school of names, which focused on definition and logic, It is said to have parallels with that of the ancient Greek sophists or dialecticians. The most notable logician was Gongsun Longzi. The school of diplomacy or school of vertical and horizontal alliances, which focused on practical matters instead of any moral principle. So it stressed political and diplomatic tactics, and debate and lobbying skill. Scholars from this school were good orators, debaters and tacticians. The miscellaneous school, which integrated teachings from different schools, for instance, Lu Bavai found scholars from different schools to write a book called Lu Chi Chung Qiu cooperatively. This school tried to integrate the merits of various schools and avoid their perceived flaws. The school of minor talks, which was not a unique school of thought, but a philosophy constructed of all the thoughts which were discussed by and originated from normal people on the street. Another group is the school of the military that studied strategy and the philosophy of war. Sun Tzu and Sun Bin were influential leaders. However, this school was not one of the 10 schools defined by Han Shu. Early imperial China, the founder of the Qin dynasty, who implemented legalism as the official philosophy, quashed Mohist and Confucianist schools. Legalism remained influential until the emperors of the Han dynasty adopted Daoism and later Confucianism as official doctrine. These latter two became the determining forces of Chinese thought until the introduction of Buddhism. Confucianism was particularly strong during the Han dynasty, whose greatest thinker was Dong Zhongshu, who integrated Confucianism with the thoughts of the Zhongshu school and the theory of the 5 elements. He also was a promoter of the New Text school, which considered Confucius as a divine figure and a spiritual ruler of China, who foresaw and started the evolution of the world towards the universal peace. In contrast, there was an Old Text school that advocated the use of Confucian works written in ancient language that were so much more reliable. In particular, they refuted the assumption of Confucius as a godlike figure and considered him as the greatest sage, but simply a human and mortal. The 3rd and 4th centuries saw the rise of the Shang Xue, also called Neo-Taoism. The most important philosophers of this movement were Wang Bai, Xiang Xiu and Guo Xiang. The main question of this school was whether being came before not being. A peculiar feature of these Taoist thinkers, like the 7 sages of the bamboo grove, was the concept of Feng Lu, a sort of romantic spirit which encouraged following the natural and instinctive impulse. Buddhism arrived in China around the 1st century AD, but it was not until the northern and southern Sui and Tang dynasties that it gained considerable influence and acknowledgement. At the beginning, it was considered a sort of Taoist sect, and there was even a theory about Laozi, founder of Taoism, who went to India and taught his philosophy to Buddha. Mahayana Buddhism was far more successful in China than its rival Hinayana, and both Indian schools and local Chinese sects arose from the 5th century. 2 chiefly important monk philosophers were Shang Xue and Daosheng, but probably the most influential and original of these schools was the Chan sect, which had an even stronger impact in Japan as the Zen sect. Philosophers Taoism Laozi Zhuangzi Zhang Daoling Zhang Ju Ji Hong. Confucianism Confucius Mencius Sun Tzu. Legalism Li Si Li Kui Han Fei Mi Su Yu Shang Yang Shen Bu Hai Shen Dao. Mohism Mo Tse Song Xing. Logicians Deng Shi Hui Shigong Sun Long. Agrarianism Zhu Xing. Naturalism Zhou Yan. Neo-Taoism Wang Bai Guo Xiang Xiang Xiu. School of Diplomacy Gugut Sisu Qin Zhang Yi Yu Yi Li Yijia. School of the Military Sun Tzu Sun Bin. Ancient Greek and Roman Philosophy. Philosophers Pre-Socratic philosophers Milesian School. Thales Anaximander Anaximenes of Miletus Pythagoreans. Pythagoras Philolaus Alcmaeon of Croton Archites Heraclitus. Eleatic School. Xenophanes Parmenides Zeno of Elymalisis of Samos Pluralists. Empedocles Anaxagoras Atomists. Leucippus Democritus Metrodorus of Chios Phaeacides of Cyrrhus. Sophists. Protagoras, Gorgias, Antiphon, Prodicus, Hippias, Thrasymachus, Callicles, Critias, Lycophron, Diogenes of Apollonia. Classical Greek philosophers: Socrates, Euclid of Megara, Antisthenes, Aristippus, Plato, Speusippus, Diogenes of Sinope, Xenocrates, Aristotle, Stilpo, Theophrastus. Hellenistic philosophy: Pyrrha, Epicurus, Metrodorus of Lampsacus, Zeno of Citium, Cleanthes, Timon, Arcesilaus, Menippus, Archimedes, Chrysippus, Carneades, Clitomachus, Metrodorus of Stratonicia, Philo of Larissa, Posidonius, Antiochus of Ascalon, Anesidemus, Agrippa. Hellenistic schools of thought: Cynicism, Eclecticism, Epicureanism, Middle Platonism, Neoplatonism, Neo-Pythagoreanism. Peripatetic school: Pyrrhonism, Stoicism, Sophism. Early Roman and Christian philosophy. See also Christian philosophy: School of the Sexti. Philosophers during Roman times: Cicero, Lucretius, Seneca, Musonius Rufus, Plutarch, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Clement of Alexandria, Alcinous, Sextus Empiricus, Alexander of Aphrodisias, Ammonius Saccus, Plotinus, Porphyry, Iamblichus, Themistius, Augustinian of Hippo, Proclus, Damasius, Boethius, Simplicius of Cilicia, John Philoponus. Ancient Indian philosophy. The ancient Indian philosophy is a fusion of two ancient traditions, Sramana tradition and Vedic tradition. Vedic philosophy. Indian philosophy begins with the Vedas, where questions related to laws of nature, the origin of the universe and the place of man in it are asked. In the famous Rig Vedic hymn of creation, the poet says, "Whence all creation had its origin, he, whether he fashioned it or whether he did not, he, who surveys it all from highest heaven, he knows, or maybe even he does not know." In the Vedic view, creation is ascribed to the self-consciousness of the primeval being. This leads to the inquiry into the one being that underlies the diversity of empirical phenomena and the origin of all things. Cosmic order is termed RTA and causal law by karma. Nature is taken to have three qualities: Vedas, Upanishads. Hindu philosophy. Sramana philosophy. Jainism and Buddhism, a continuation of the Sramana school of thought. The Sramanas cultivated a pessimistic worldview of the samsaras full of suffering and advocated renunciation and austerities. They laid stress on philosophical concepts like ahimsa, karma, jnana, samsara and moksha. Carvaka philosophy, also known as Lokayata. It is a system of Hindu philosophy that assumes various forms of philosophical skepticism and religious indifference. It is named after its founder, Carvaka, author of the Bahaspatya Sutras. Classical Indian philosophy. In classical times, these inquiries were systematized in 6 schools of philosophy. Some of the questions asked were: what is the ontological nature of consciousness? How is cognition itself experienced? Is mind intentional or not? Does cognition have its own structure? The 6 schools of Indian philosophy are Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, Vedanta. Ancient Indian philosophers. 3rd millennium, 2nd millennium BCE. Parashara, writer of Vishnu Purana. Vyasa, author of the Mahabharata, as well as a character in it. Philosophers of Vedic age. Rishi Narayana, seer of the Purusha Sukta of the Rig Veda. 7 Rishisa, Atra, Bharadwaja, Gautama, Jamadani, Kasyapa, Vasishtha, Viswamitra. Other Vedic Rishisa: Gritsamada, Sandalya, Kamva, etc. Rishabha, Rishi mentioned in Rig Veda and later in several Puranas, and believed by Jains to be the first official religious guru of Jainism, as accredited by later followers. Yajnavalkya, one of the Vedic sages, greatly influenced Buddhistic thought. Angarace, one of the seers of the Atharva Veda and author of Mundaka Upanishad. Uddalaka Aruni, an Upanishadic sage who authored major portions of Chandogya Upanishad. Ashvapati, a king in the later Vedic age who authored Vaishvanara Vidya of Chandogya Upanishad. Ashtavakra, an Upanishadic sage mentioned in the Mahabharata, who authored Ashtavakra Gita. Philosophers of axial age Kannada founded the philosophical school of Vaisheshika, gave theory of atomism. Mahavira, heavily influenced Jainism, the 24th Tirthankara of Jainism. Panini, grammarian, author of Ashtadhyayi. Kapila, proponent of the Samkhya system of philosophy. Badarayana, author of Brahma Sutras. Pingala, author of the Chanda Shastra. Gautama Buddha, founder of Buddhist school of thought. Chanakya, author of Arthashastra, professor of political science at the Takshashila University. Patanjali, developed the philosophy of Raja Yoga in his Yoga Sutras. Shvetashvatara, author of earliest textual exposition of a systematic philosophy of Shaivism. Philosophers of Golden Age Gautama wrote Jaimini, author of Purvamamamsa Sutras. Dignaga, one of the founders of Buddhist school of Indian logic. Isanga, exponent of the Yogacara. Bhartrihari, early figure in Indic linguistic theory. Bodhidharma, founder of the Zen school of Buddhism. Siddhasena Divakara, Jain logician and author of important works in Sanskrit and Prakrit, such as Nyayavatar and Sanmesha Sutra. Vasubandhu, one of the main founders of the Indian Yogacara school. Kundakandar, exponent of Jain mysticism and Jain Nyayas dealing with the nature of the soul and its contamination by matter. Author of Pankastakayasara, the Pravachanasara and the Samayasara. Nagarjuna, the founder of the Madhyamaka school of Mahayana Buddhism. Umasvati or Umasvami, author of first Jain work in Sanskrit, Tattvartha Sutra, expounding the Jain philosophy in a most systematized form acceptable to all sects of Jainism. Ancient Iranian philosophy. See also dualism. Dualism. While there are ancient relations between the Indian Vedas and the Iranian Avestar, the two main families of the Indo-Iranian philosophical traditions were characterized by fundamental differences in their implications for the human being's position in society and the view of man's role in the universe. The first Charter of Human Rights by Cyrus the Great, as understood in the Cyrus Cylinder, is often seen as a reflection of the questions and thoughts expressed by Zarathustra and developed in Zoroastrian schools of thought of the Achaemenid era of Iranian history. Schools of thought, ideas and tenets of Zoroastrian schools of early Persian philosophy are part of many works written in Middle Persian and of the extant scriptures of the Zoroastrian religion in Avestan language. Among these are treatises such as the Shakandgu Manikvicha by Mardan Farrukh Sormazdadan, selections of Denkid, Wizardadja Harizatspram, as well as older passages of the book Avestar. The gathers which are attributed to Zarathustra himself and regarded as his direct teachings: Zoroastrianism, Zarathustra, Jamasp, Ostanes, Mardan Farrukh Sormazdadan, Adarfan Bag Farrukhzadan, Awadabad Emadan, Avestar. Gathers. Inakasis pre-Manichaean thought Bardasanes. Manichaeism Mani, Amo, Mazdakism Mazdak the Elder, Mazdak, Zervinism Aesthetic Zervinism, Materialist Zervinism, Fatalistic Zervinism, Philosophy and the Empire Political Philosophy Tanzar, University of Gundishapur Borzuya Bakshua Gondishapuri, Emperor Khosrau's Philosophical Discourses Paul the Persian, Literature Pahlavi Literature, Ancient Jewish Philosophy. See also Jewish Philosophy, First Temple, Joel, Amos, Hosea, Micah, Proto-Isaiah, Ezekiel, Habakkuk, Jeremiah, Nahum, Zephaniah, Assyrian exile Deutero-Isaiah, Haggai, Obadiah, Trito-Isaiah, Zechariah, Second Temple Malachi, Koheleth, Shimon ben Yeshua ben Eliezer ben Sira, Hillel the Elder, Philo of Alexandria, Early Roman exile Akiva ben Joseph